Seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
All right, so no Caleb Flagger tonight, but that's okay. We have Siobhan Nolan here. I don't know if she has any Eagles insight, but my panel is here with the Eagles. No Eagles. Okay, that's fine because we have Tyler Small, Austin Petalillo, and Tyler Small here to talk Eagles coming back, starting with the 3-4-1. It's a new season, 3-4-1 halfway point. We're gonna talk a little bit about it. Let's start off. How are we feeling with the second half of the season approaching?
Not good. I mean, we have this stretch of games coming up with, who is it? Seahawks, I know we have. Cardinals. I don't know the particular word of it, but we're just going to get whooped. We're going to beat the Giants, obviously, but after that, it's just 4 straight weeks of pure misery that the Eagles will go 0-4 in, without a doubt. Maybe they'll win that Seahawks game because they're not supposed to, but other than that, it's not going to be fun to watch. I'm going to be really depressed the next few weeks of my life.
I don't know if the Giants win's even guaranteed. They've been playing tough lately. I mean, if Evan Ingram caught that pass, they win that game against the Eagles.
They're the best one-win team, baby.
Absolutely.
Austin, I feel like a few weeks ago, you claimed the Giants to be the dark horse of winning this division, and I 110% agree with you. Now, I could see it a few weeks from now.
Joe, I mean, I'm not a Giants fan. You guys know this, but Joe Judge is a fantastic coach. He's coaching those boys up. Daniel Jones shows flashes, and I mean, overall, they're a pretty good team. And I would not be shocked to see them creep up at the end and find themselves in playoff contention in week 16 and week 17. As far as the Eagles go, as you mentioned, that's a tough, stretch of games they got going. They're going to get steamrolled pretty bad, but I mean, it's typical Eagles for them to win a game they shouldn't win and lose one that they should. So, that's what I'm kind of expecting from them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird if you look just straight to the numbers. When we get to this point of the year, officially halfway, as you conveniently said, good spot for the bye week. It's crazy to think that numerically the defense has gotten them as far as they have. Offensively, they are the 4th worst offense overall in efficiency rankings in the NFL. It's because of their 5th best passing offense and their 7th best rushing offense, which is crazy because they never run the ball, but they do it so efficiently because they have, I think Miles Sanders and Boston Scott have 2 of the top run per game or run per attempts in the NFL. But then if you look at the defense, they're dead smack in the middle, pretty much every category. They're only above average in pass deflections and quarterback hurries. So you really look at these numbers, the defense has really kept them afloat as one of the most average teams in football. The only problem is they're going up against the most difficult stretch of games for any team in the NFL over the second half of the season. It's very difficult, especially when we look at the feisty Giants who barely fended off against the Washington football team. And although they're having even more quarterback issues, prayers up for Kyle Allen and all.
Yeah.
That some terrible things happened there, but at the same time, Dallas playing the way that they did. Now, I credit that more to Mike Tomlin and that kind of being a trap game for them, just kind of playing down to their competition. But the fact that they were able to do that with a 4th string quarterback puts a little bit of fear back into the Eagles again, that they are kind of on a hot seat, only a game and a half up. So it's going to be a telling time. But if they win some games here and do win the division, you can kind of say that they're battle tested for the playoffs.
Eagles claim they're a quarterback factory, but I'm just going to say it. The Carolina Panthers are a quarterback factory. Panthers legend Garrett Gilbert looked insane on Sunday. Before the injury, Kyle Allen looked pretty good. And, of course, I mean, Cam Newton, he seems the guy to swagger back. And I know it's against the Jets, but we should start to recognize who the real quarterback factory here is in the NFL.
Who says that the Eagles are a quarterback factory?
I was going to ask that. I don't know.
That's what they said. Howie Roseman said that when they drafted Jalen Hurts or Doug Peters. Someone said that they're a quarterback factory in the organization. Someone said that. I'm pretty sure someone said that.
It was probably Howie.
I could say I'm a good-looking factory, but there's no facts to back that up. Obviously, you see the product right in front of you, and that obviously doesn't show much. You could say that about anything.
You are quite ugly.
Thank you.
No personal insults. Yeah, so I was gonna ask about the schedule later on, but I guess I'll go through it right now. So we got New York coming up, obviously, probably a dub, and then you got a pretty rough stretch with Cleveland, Seattle, at Seattle. No, Seattle's here. My fault. At Green Bay, host New Orleans, at Arizona, at Dallas, finish up against Washington. It's not an easy stretch, I don't think, by any stretch of the imagination. With those games listed, give me a record. What do you see them going down the stretch? 4-4, or is that too optimistic?
I'll let you guys think of a number first, but just to start, in this stretch, with as difficult as it's going to be, there is going to be one mind-blowing upset that the Eagles are going to pull off, obviously, and then they're going to ruin it by possibly dropping the game to the Giants. I don't put it past them that they're going to beat the Seahawks team. I think they're going to go 3-5 over the next stretch, and that should be good enough to hopefully win the division or at least have a tie for it. But at the end of the day, the Seahawks have the worst passing defense literally in the history of football. The team that they're beating by a total of 27 yards per game is the 2020 Falcons. And look at the difference between them. Russell Wilson for that team has to have basically an MVP caliber game every single week for them to even be in contention for that game. So I think if the Eagles can really shut them down, if Darius Slay can have a good one-on-one matchup with the very physical DK Metcalf, if that's where he goes, or if he goes to Tyler Lockett, not sure where they'll go with that. If they can get a pass rush on him and keep him contained, almost similar to what they're going to have to do against the Cardinals, I can really see them taking that Seahawks game. But I think overall they're going to go 3-5 because they won't replicate that week in and week out.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any upset, like I said, it's probably going to end up being that Seahawks team. I mean, yeah, like you were saying, Slay's going to get stuck on either DK or Tyler Lockett. But the only problem is, whichever one's not stuck with him, that guy's going to explode. That happens every single week with the Seahawks. You see him going for like 180 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns. This receiver core is just ridiculous. So it wouldn't shock me if they do end up losing, even if maybe they'll pull the upset, but nothing's guaranteed right now.
I can't remember the last time the Eagles beat the Seahawks, whether at home or on the road. I could probably look it up, but I have no recollection of it. But I could see them going anywhere from 5-3 in that stretch of 8, or winless. Like, I don't see a guaranteed victory on that schedule. Maybe the Washington game, it's week 17 and don't got anything to play for. Maybe that. But I don't see any guaranteed victories on that schedule.
But the only thing is, if they win a couple of games, in all honesty, the Eagles could not be playing anything for there. So you can't even count that into consideration.
Yeah, and I do think it's interesting that this stretch, I guess, even before the season, when there was more optimism, probably would have been seen as the hardest stretch of games. But what's different is now, you look at those New York games and even Washington, week 17, where Washington's proved that they could beat the Eagles. You don't have any real guaranteed victories on this. So I think 3-5, I agree with that assessment. At least injury-wise, getting a little better. Miles Sanders is coming back this week at practice, I believe. And Alshon Jeffrey making a comeback. Does Alshon have any role to play on this team at all?
Yeah, a statue outside the stadium. He can't move.
I'm sure he might end up being the veteran that kind of rallies these young troops together and maybe gets we're already doing good with this young receiver core. Maybe he's that missing piece that, he's not producing much on the field, but maybe he's going to juice up the young guys a little bit, take some attention off of them. We'll just see what happens.
I think he's going to be a receiver that you never want to see him pass the sticks. He's going to be a sole possession guy. Put him in the slot. Let your young guys use their athleticism to get around. Greg Ward played phenomenal in the slot. I've been saying it week in and week out. Get him out of there. Use his athleticism. Whether it's motion offense, using him as like a Cordell Patterson or a Taysom Hill kind of thing, even though they have a Jalen Hurts, but just moving him around. And Alshon Jeffrey should just be that pure possession, basically another tight end, since you don't have a healthy Ertz and Goddard every single week. But of course, as we say this, and it's tough to say this because of how injured the Eagles always get, this is the last position that you really wanted to see the arsenal coming back. You wanted to see that anywhere on the defensive side or on the offensive line side. But of course, it comes to the receiving court. You're not going to complain about it. But I think when you're looking at the injury reserves week in and week out, you get kind of disappointed when you see that as wide receivers and weapons coming back.
I think they should use them in the red zone as that fade, that big-bodied physical wide receiver that can go up and catch those jump balls. I don't see any use for him that would be good from their own 1 yard line to about the 30-yard line on the opposing side. I don't see a real good use for him there.
I agree with you, Austin.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, if you told me when that whole story came out about the locker room issues with him that Alshon would even be on the team at this point, I would have said you were crazy. But here he is. He's coming back. By the way, last Eagles win against Seattle was the McNabb era, 08.
Oh, boy.
Against Seneca Wallace on the
legend, Seneca Wallace.
I don't know who that is. I would have guessed that was a woman. It sounds like a girl's name. Yeah, and last question for the Eagles before we wrap up Eagles talk, and then we'll talk a little Philadelphia Union. Given that the playoff structure is kind of like up in the air right now, say it stayed the same, do they make the playoffs?
Yes, but they're going to get blitzed in January, and they're going to lose out on a good draft pick with a subpar team.
They might end up winning that first game like the Eagles do, but there will be nowhere to go after that. They will get, with especially how high scoring every single NFL team is right now. We have never seen a season like this where most games are 30 to 45 points each. It's ridiculous. The Eagles are just going to look like a high school football team compared to some of the best teams in the NFL right now.
See, if there's any year you can't put it past it with all the crazy aspects of the season, a COVID-related anything throughout the regular season, or throughout a week, I should say, getting ready for practices and personnel matchups and stuff like that makes it so difficult and to pick games and so easy for a team to come in and sweep. I don't think they'll win that game per se. I think either they get quote unquote messed up by a coronavirus, like they lose a significant player of some sorts, or they stay competitive in that game because it's a home game, because they win the division, which is still a stupid rule. And then they have some monumental call against them or something for Eagles fans to be mad at the entire offseason, something that just has them taste it, because everyone's going to buy in when they make the playoffs, even when they have no aspect or any chance of getting to the Super Bowl.
That's Philadelphia. That's Philadelphia sports.
Other day.
All right. So with that, we'll bring in Siobhan Nolan to talk a little Union.
My time to shine.
Yeah, here you go. Tell me about the Union, because I got to be honest, I don't know a single thing. I don't even know if they're playing right now. So let me know.
Oh, they're playing. When I tell you that they're playing, they are playing. So the Union started in 2010. What's really interesting about them is that they had their fan group before they actually had the team. So there's this group of supporters in Philadelphia that really wanted to give the city an MLS team, and they were pushing, and eventually they got the team. So the fans, the Sons of Ben is what they're called, literal SOBs, which I love. They are the reason that the team is here. And so they've been around for around 10 years now. I actually went to the very first Union home game, which was at the Link before they built a stadium in Chester. So that was really cool. But, being such a new team in MLS, they were considered a very small team. Not a lot of notable players played for them. They didn't have the Beckhams or anything like that. But this year has been their year. They just won the Supporters Shield the other day, which is the trophy that you get for having the most points in MLS. They've secured a playoff spot. They're slated to do really well to win the MLS Cup, which is a huge deal because that would be the first one that they've ever won. They have this thing in MLS called homegrowns, which is basically where you have to have a certain number of players on your team that are, born and play locally. So we have a lot of local talent from like Pennsylvania, Delaware, Jersey, and in my opinion and many other people's opinion, we have some of the best homegrowns in the entire league. Brendan Aronson, who is a homegrown, he is going to Germany at the end of this season, and he is the most expensive homegrown that's ever come out of MLS. So he was worth the most money of any young player that's come out. So a lot of exciting things are happening with the Union. They're really making a name for themselves. Hopefully people will realize that there are actually 5 Philadelphia teams now, hopefully. So that's your little crash course in the Union.
He's going to one of those Red Bull teams, right? I don't know if it's Leipzig or
Yeah.
Salzburg, one of those. So
I think it's Salzburg. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me, is there a playoff structure for the MLS? I don't even know how that works. Like,
There is a playoff structure. Right now, we don't know who the Union is going to be playing. There's still a couple of wild card spots left, but it's your simple like playoff bracket measure. You know, you play a team and then you just go until the MLS Cup Finals, and then hopefully we'll make it through. We're slated to do really well, so I'm very optimistic about that.
they should have adopted the European rules where they don't have playoffs and whoever's in first wins the league. They would have won the league in that scenario.
Oh, absolutely. But MLS is so different from Europe. So it's just a very different system. But, you know, it's where we are. It's what we're doing. So we'll see what happens.
yeah. Do you see any future for the Union in Philadelphia, maybe working their way up the hierarchy of Philly sports? You know what I mean? Maybe it'll become a household name, you know?
Absolutely. You know, with the changing soccer culture in the US in general, so many more people are getting into soccer and appreciating it more. So I think with that general culture shifting and becoming more prominent in the US, I think that that's really going to take off in Philadelphia. I think once the Unions start doing well more consistently, they start winning more trophies, maybe bringing in more big name players, I think that'll help too. It kind of sucks because their stadium is all the way out in Chester, so it's like kind of hard to get to. But I think that once they start really being more successful and really kind of forcing people to look at them because they're winning so much and they're doing so well, I think that in the near future we'll see more of them in Philly.
Yeah, it's cool to see a Philly team start to get some wins again. But the only Philly Union that really matters has an Oath pizza inside of it.
That's so true. Hopefully in January. Hopefully in January.
Oh my God, did you
That was good, Sam. That was good.
just come up with that right there?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that was really good.
On the spot.
That stadium's gorgeous, by the way. That's it.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Overlooking the Delaware River and you have the bridge. Oh, it's amazing.
All right. Well, I wish I had more questions for you. I don't know anything.
I got a question.
Shoot.
Do you think for the because I'm a big European soccer fan, like Champions
Same.
League, EPL, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that the MLS needs, you know, some big time talent to come over that aren't necessarily like old guys, like, you know, Beckham was old, Schweinsteiger was old, they got Higuain down in Miami. He's old, like a retirement home, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Well, that's what they call it. They say MLS is the retirement.
Yeah, like NYFC is Man City's retirement home. But do you feel that they need an influx of guys in their prime that are, you know, known not just nationally but like worldwide? You know, like I see over in China they get those guys, or just one of those leagues. I don't know which one. Do you feel they need that to sort of grow as a league?
I think absolutely they do. They do need stars like they have in the Premier League and the Bundesliga. Once they start getting those really worldwide international talents, that's when they're going to start working their way up. I think when we produce more young talents that can go over to Europe and we can say, hey, these are really good young guys produced by the MLS. Because right now, the current American stars, Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Josh Sargent, you know, they're all American guys, but they weren't produced by the MLS. They never played for an MLS team. So we need more Brendan Aaronsons. We need more guys who grew up in the MLS system, who played for MLS teams to then go over to Europe. And then the European fans can say, look at this really good American kid. We can start taking MLS more seriously.
Christian Pulisic is a local guy too, which is good.
He's from Hershey, yeah.
Hershey.
Yeah, there we go. No, but my main question is, if the USA is going to buy into the MLS, which I believe that they should, the problem that we always see, and we always see it kind of when the World Cup comes around, is that since that kind of distracted me. Since U.S. teams, there's so many other sports that specifically males kind of aspire towards. There's not a lot of homegrown talent because those phenomenal athletes go and disperse. Where the women's team always dominates. I mean, they're back-to-back World Cup champions. Do you think that there's a better chance of the United States buying into a full female league as opposed?
There is a women's soccer league, which, doesn't get a lot of attention still, but, the women's team does really well. And it's so interesting because the US actually has the highest number of kids that play soccer in the world. Oh, I think about 3 million kids play soccer in the US, but we're not considered a soccer country for that reason, because there's the football and baseball, basketball, all those other sports. So, it's going to be difficult. And I think when we joint host the World Cup in 2026, I think by then there's going to be a lot of talent to speak of. We have guys like Pulisic, and there's so many other guys in Europe that are really making names for themselves and really putting the US on the map. But I do believe that there needs to be more investment in the MLS, more investment in these soccer programs. Because right now, soccer, it's a rich kid's sport. Like, you have to have money if you really want to go and succeed and progress in these soccer leagues. So once a lot of kids are able to play on a more equal playing field where you don't have to have that kind of money to really do well, I think that's when we're really going to start seeing progression in the men's team as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, the high school I went to was like on women's and men's. It is such a soccer powerhouse, like to the point where they're recruiting kids from Brazil and Africa and all that stuff. Like, I feel like, and don't get me wrong, like they were really good and I enjoyed watching them when I was there, but I feel like they need homegrown talent a little bit more to sort of raise the level. And that's not a dig at all the international guys. Those guys are cool. Like, I was friends with them. Like, they're cool guys and they're good players too. But I feel like this country, like in our just some of the athletes, like if you take a few football players, American football players, and you put them in the soccer, like I think they dominated that too. Like, I just feel like we got to invest more into growing the game in this country to be known more worldwide.
Exactly. And I'm hoping that with 2026, it'll kind of be like what happened in 1994 when we hosted the World Cup. That was such a big year for US soccer. And, the men's team, they haven't won a World Cup yet. They haven't finished in the top 3 in over or just under a century, actually. But it's all in the young talent. That's a general theme across any soccer league. It's all in the young talent. When you can prove that you can produce young talents that can, last through their careers and show how good they are consistently, that's when people start to recognize that you are a force to be reckoned with.
And with that, I got to wrap it here. Move into Fast Five. Where we start here. NFL owners on Tuesday voted unanimously to approve a 16-team playoff contingency plan if regular season games are canceled because of COVID-19. Do you guys like this plan?
No, that's half the league making the playoffs. No participation trophies.
Hey, then put someone like the Panthers in there.
No, we need a draft pick. No playoffs, please.
No, see, I 100% agree, and I'll say the same thing for this that I said about baseball. I get it for this season because you can't really get a true. I mean, if you have a COVID case on your team, look at the Raiders. They went without their whole starting offensive line because of it. So I think that it makes sense for this year because it's such an unusual year. But for the future, it makes the regular season worth nothing. Why do you think nobody pays attention to the NBA regular season? Doesn't matter. Half the teams get in already.
All right. And the Sixers unveiled their new Black City Edition jerseys paying homage to Boathouse Row. I believe you guys all saw it, so we can probably throw it up here. Yeah. Thumbs down, thumbs up.
No, nobody cares about Boathouse Row. Like, put the skyline or something. Or how about bring back the 2001 jerseys?
Yeah.
Those back. Nostalgia. Yes. The blue, give me the white, the black, but I would do with the black over that abomination of a uniform.
I think these are the first black jerseys in a while, right?
In a while.
Since they had Iverson and Aaron McKee and Eric Snow and Chris Webber. I mean, I can go on and on.
There was so much potential, but the actual product just fell short, because no one does care about Boathouse. Or like, why would you put that on a basketball jersey? I don't get why they chose that, but okay.
Hopefully we don't offend the rowing team.
All right. This question will be, I guess, for Tyler and Austin. Last week, the Baseball Writers Association of America announced the 3 finalists in each league for MVP. We had the Cy Young Most Valuable Player and Jackie Robinson. The MVP finalists for the National League are Mookie Betts of the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman of the Braves, Manny Machado of the Padres, and the American League, Jose Abreu of the White Sox, DJ LeMahieu of the Yankees, and Jose Ramirez of the Indians. Who are your guys' favorites? Let's do Austin. You can do American League. Tyler, you do National League.
It should be Jose Abreu. He had an unreal year for the White Sox. And you know, it's sort of like a lifetime achievement award. He was with the White Sox when they were down bad, when they were losing 100 games. He was there from the jump, and it finally all came to fruition for him. And he had such a good year. It brought him to the playoffs for the first time since, I think, 2005 when they last won the World Series. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know about that. It should be Jose Abreu in the American League. I know that might offend you, Tyler, you know, big Yankee fan, DJ LeMay.
No, DJ LeMay, and just to quickly say, Shane Bieber should have got the nomination instead of DJ LeMay, who, in all honest opinion, but a pitcher hasn't gotten it since Justin Verlander. They're not going to do it. And also, I feel bad for Jose Abreu because now he has to play under Tony La Russa, which is just the worst he could have had.
Cardinals and Tony La Russa, two-time world champion.
Yeah, Cardinals racist. And then if we look at the National League, it's got to be Freddie Freeman. This shouldn't even be a question. He had 22 points higher more above anyone else in the league. He was phenomenal. Everyone gives Marcelo Zuna all the love on that team, but if it weren't for Freddie Freeman throughout the regular season, they would not have been as a force as they were and one game away from the World Series as they were. So he's just such a steady force. I'm so happy they finally put a full season together.
I agree with that as well.
All right.
Alec Baum was robbed for Rookie of the Year. That's all I have to say on that.
No.
I was going to ask about Rookie of the Year, actually, but then I switched it to MVP, but I agree with
Devin
that.
Williams. He had an ERA plus.
Absolutely.
ERA plus, just to quickly say, an ERA plus, the average is 100. He had an ERA plus of 1,375. He gave up one home run the entire season. He was insane.
He's an airbender. He's like Avatar.
His changeup breaks as much as Adam Ottavino, the biggest left to right slider break in the MLB, as a changeup, as a righty. It's insane.
All right. You guys gotta make this one quick, but I know you guys do want to talk a little Tyrod Taylor. So
yeah.
I forgot. I apologize, but
wow.
Go ahead.
So I don't know if you saw the play. I'll just field this one. Justin Herbert goes down with an injury. I'm like, it's about time. So let's get Tyrod up in there. He goes in for the 2-point conversion, and their O-line is just absolutely abysmal. That pocket collapses in like 2 seconds, and you see Tyrod scramble. He's looking for their 2 points. They're down by 2 in the 4th, and he almost gets it. He breaks 2 tackles, and he's running for it. And Nick Kwiatkowski from the Raiders, he just runs up and decks Tyrod. He has nowhere to go. I was so upset. My man's finally got his moment to shine for the first time in a month after getting stabbed in the lungs by their own medical team. This guy's just been through it all. He's a Super Bowl winner, and this is how they treat him now. It was terrible. It was hard to watch. He needs to go to the Cowboys.
He got stood up on that play.
It was such a good play. Listen, Tyrod Taylor, you finally had me come around for him because of how much time do I have? None?
10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Make it 30.
Go.
Oh, can I still go?
Now.
Okay, well, let me just say, this guy is the king of September-October football. When the leaves change, Tyrod Taylor becomes an elite quarterback. He's 18-13 with 4,307 yards. Guy's a stud. Don't let him play on a Saturday. He's 1-1 with a 66.6% passing percentage, a 118 rate. Don't let him play the AFC South. He's 7-1 against them, and he's a dome ruler. He's 3-3 with a 73.3% completion percentage and a 94.6% rate.
Talk that rah, Tyler. That's quarterback.
All right. I got to wrap it. We went a little bit over, but that's okay. Editing is required anyway. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.